What's happening, everybody? It's Sean with Reactions to the Classics, and today we got a full album reaction to Whipping Boy's Heartworm, brought to us by a friend, longtime supporter, and patron of the channel, Richard. Thank you, Richard. Always appreciate you. I only know one Whipping Boy song, never even heard him. We had him in a song battle a few months ago, so really enjoy that song from what I remember, and it's on this album. And looking forward to diving into this. Let's check out a little bit of research about Whipping Boy. First off, Richard said, the 1994 album has seen a resurgence this month, and he just wrote this last month or in the last few weeks, after a special re-release that has got it to #1 on the Irish charts. It also was just featured on Tim Burgess's of the Charlatans Twitter Listening Party series. All right. Richard says, I'd give this album a 10 out of 10 in my personal top 10 albums, and Richard knows a lot about music. That's a big praise. Always wondered what people outside of Ireland would think of it. He's Irish, if you hadn't figured that out. It, in my opinion, deserved much more commercial success than it got back in the day. I'll just tell you a little bit about Whipping Boy from my research. They were an Irish alternative rock band who were active from the late 80s until the late 90s, releasing 3 full-length albums in that time. The original lineup reformed from 2005 to 2006 before returning once more from 2011 to 2012 with only 2 original members. Whipping Boy formed in Dublin in 1988. The band comprising Fergal McKee, vocals, Paul Page on guitar, Miles McDonald on bass and vocals, and Colm Hassett on drums. They initially performed cover versions of songs by the Velvet Underground in the fall, like both those groups a lot, and went by the name Lolita in the Whipping Boy, shortened their name when their female guitarist left. Yeah, it'd be a little weird if they're still Lolita, huh? After a couple EPs, they released their low-key debut album, Submarine, in 1992 on Liquid Records. Their live performances raised their profile, with McKee known to cut himself with broken glass on stage. All right. The album was you gotta do what you gotta do to get people talking, right? The album was critically acclaimed, though commercially unsuccessful, and led to a deal with Columbia Records, who issued the band's second album, this one we're gonna listen to, Heartworm, along with 3 minor hit singles off this album. Heartworm received much critical acclaim, with AllMusic calling it, quote, an earth-shatteringly powerful experience. The group split up in 1998 after being dropped by Columbia, leaving a 3rd album unreleased. Self-titled album was eventually released in 2000 on their own Low Rent label. That's the name of the label, Low Rent. I'm not calling them Low Rent. Quick facts on this album. There really is nothing on this album. I don't have a lot of research on this album at all. As I said, it's their second studio album, released in November of 1995, recorded between September and November 94 in Dublin, so over a year after they finished recording it came out. Voted the 7th best Irish album of all time in a 2005 poll by the Irish magazine Hot Press, and in 2013 it topped Phantom FM's poll of the top 50 Irish albums of all time. So that's high praise, and as Richard mentioned, it's had a resurgence now, so it'd probably go up even higher on these charts. So before we get started, just a quick reminder, there will not be music in the reaction, but click the Vimeo link below. You can listen along with me. As you see below, we're going to kick this thing off with Twinkle. It was a single. This is the song that was featured in a song battle we did recently, but I mean, I've only heard it once and I don't remember. I just remember that I liked it. So I'll have the lyrics up, and I'll save my comments till it's over. Thank you very much, Richard. Twinkle. Wow, I don't remember what Trey and I, because he's with me because it was a battle, made of the lyrics of this song. We're going to dive into that, but I thought Fergal's vocals were fantastic, and Paul Page's guitar, wow. I mean, I love the way this sounds sonically, man. I hope the rest of the album sounds similar, man. It's just so good, and his voice fits perfect with this. I think he's in love with this girl. She messes him over, or she was never with him in the first place, and he kills her, but I don't know. Waiting to be bled, turning tricks just like your mother, left my dreams for dead, making out with every other. So she's with all these other guys. And then he's like, she's the air I breathe, not too pure for me. She's the air I breathe, not too cheap for me. She's the only one for me now and always. And then we get into a hole right through her head. I think I might be nothing to her. Sing it now, she said. F it, I might be here forever. And then ringing in my head, too clearly I can hear you moving. You talk sister fear, you're going to pay for all the hate I'm giving. And then, I don't know, man. It's a haunting song, man. That song is fantastic. Now we're going to go to the second track. It has the second most streams on Spotify on this album. When We Were Young, it was a single. Richard says was born from a version of Thin Lizzy's song Shades of a Blue Orphanage, done with original music, which the band then wrote original lyrics to. Let's check it out. When We Were Young, it's interesting. Twinkle is over 5 minutes long. This is only 2:50. This could have been longer. What a great song, right? What great lyrically too. It's almost like Fergal's doing a little spoken word in there, a little rap in the middle of it, which just adds to it nicely. He's just listing out the different things that you could do when you were young. I mean, the message of the story is when you're young, you think you have your whole life in front of you, right? I mean, you do, but you think you're going to have all this time and everything's going to work out. And it just doesn't always work out that way. It usually doesn't work out that way. But the innocence of that and just thinking back, I mean, I turned 50 years old this year. Just looking back going, man, when you were young, you literally could do anything, right? At the time, like the world was your oyster, so to speak. And that's what he's saying here. Like it starts out right away. When we were young, nobody died and nobody got older. The toughest kid in the street could always be bought over. And the first time that you loved, you had all your life to give. At least that's what you said. And then we get the little backing vocals on there, when we were young. The backing vocals really added to this. And I'm assuming that's Miles McDonald, because on this album he's credited with backing vocals. Colm Hassett comes in with a nice drum breakdown in there towards the end. I mean, Paul's guitar is good, of course, but Fergal has just the right voice to do this one. It's just so good. The sort of chorus, I mean, they only say when we were young one time, and that's at the end of the first verse, and it's just the backing vocals from Miles on there. The chorus: baby, sex, and flagging, shifting women, getting stoned, robbing cars, bars, and pubs, rubber Johnny's poems. Starsky and Hutch gave good TV, and Starsky looked like me. Starsky and Hutch, man, a show from the early to mid 70s, man, that I barely remember at 50 years old. A little Starsky and Hutch shout out. Didn't expect to hear that. Now we're up to the third track, Tripped. Like I said, most of the rest of this, there's no research on these songs, so we'll just break them down afterwards. Tripped, interesting song there. Paul's guitar is fantastic on here. Miles McDonald on bass, and his backing vocals are important in these songs, right? Fergal brings it on the vocals. Colm's drums in there too. The drums and guitar really drove this song. It had some build, some ramp up, some pull back. Always love that. The lyrics, I'm just not sure. Did this girl OD? Did she die? Is he going down that same road? I'm not really sure. I was really trying to ponder that as I'm listening to it and reading these lyrics. It's easy to believe in you, reasons to cast doubt on me, easy to believe in you and you. I'll put my faith in womanhood just like my mother said I would. Easy to believe in you, in you, in you. Was I the only one to know that she'd been letting go? Except your mind and your body live. She had nothing left to give. Then a little later, I've lost my faith in all things good, just like mother said I would. So it's progressing here. You'll be left there on the shelf. Can't save someone from themselves. That's why I think that maybe she did that. And then because that she tripped. She had nothing left to give except you. And so I don't know, man, but it's a really good song, really well put together. Wow, this is an incredibly strong 3 songs to start. Now we're going to go to The Honeymoon is Over. The Honeymoon is Over. Whipping Boy is 4 for 4 for me on this album. This song is fantastic too. I'll tell you an observation before we dive into this a little bit. So far, like, their lyrics are not repetitive at all. There's nothing wrong with that, but a lot of albums of this time have, kind of repetitive lyrics, short lyrics, a little bit about the instrumentation. Man, they have in-depth lyrics. I mean, there's a lot of lyrics to this song. It's 3.5 minutes long. The honeymoon is over. Obviously, most of us know what that means. Like, it's, the honeymoon, you're all happy. And then once the honeymoon's over, it means things are going south. It seems like here maybe they're both cheating. The honeymoon is over and you're still with me. I'm sitting here and I'm tired. I've found my disease. My back's against a wall now. This time I'll prove you wrong. And you had to stop. You had to stop and say it's not right. It's not right. I've been a liar all my life. So the woman saying it's not right. It's not right. I've been a liar all my life. He says, love is something we find in danger. What a feeling when it's not right. You're a master of disguise now. You had to learn to tell your lies. So he's calling her out. Surely she's cheating on him. And then he goes in. A rambling rose with a musky smell walked into my life and told me things I cannot tell. I'm going to sow the seeds of doubt in your mind. Now I'm going to change the way you wonder, the way you lie. But the beeps are coming, baby, and it's time to say goodbye. So I think this is of my time, right? When people, I never had one when people have a beeper, right? We don't have a cell phone. I'll phone you back again. I'll phone you back and lie. So you remember now how to get your story straight. I follow in your footsteps. I've been telling the same old lies for the same old sake. And then it finishes with 2 different little verses that repeat themselves. So you remember now what it takes to make a mother cry, you stupid boy. So you remember now what it takes to make a woman cry, you silly boy. You're a silly boy if you make a woman cry. You're a stupid boy if you make your mother cry. So the old if you can't beat them, join them. So I think she was cheating, hurting him, and finally he wanted her to know what it felt like. Really well done song. Now we'll move on to the 5th track, We Don't Need Nobody Else. It was a single. It's the most streamed song on this album. We Don't Need Nobody Else. Interesting because Fergal was speaking it almost for the first part of it, just like in one of the other singles, the 2nd track, When We Were Young. So I found that interesting. He went back to that style in the song. And then the song just built, had a lot of layers to it. Really, really enjoyed it. It starts out in the morning. I'm a recluse, lost in memories, ideal situations and convulsions. I'm never in and I can't remember. Get a little shot in here at Bono. They built portholes for Bono so he could gaze out across the bay and sing about mountains maybe. You are what you own in this land. You can be king and it all depends on the view and what you can see. So if you're in that porthole, you can only see a certain amount of things. And nobody here tells me what to do anymore. And he goes, we don't need nobody else. So it's the we. So you know he's with someone else. Is it friends? Is it a girl? Well, it turns out it's a girl. Why say words I do not mean? They only serve to amuse, ridicule, and destroy, hardly ever to teach. Then we get into the disturbing part of the song, but it is what it is. I hit you for the first time today. I didn't mean it. It just happened. You wouldn't let me go to the phone. You wanted to make love, and I did not. Now I know the distance between us. Christ, we weren't even fighting. I was just annoyed. Silence, and you started to cry. That really hurt, you said. Yeah, and you thought you knew me. And then he just goes into we don't need nobody else, just you and me. Consider this as the wine takes hold and sinks into your veins. I try to force it, but it's not there. Love gives you comfort, and comfort makes you dim. So a very cynical guy, right? He's saying it's just you and me against the world, yet I'm not really going to be nice to you. I'm not really going to just give you these hollow words of affirmation. And one of the reasons why this was so good is the instrumentation, right? All the guys were spot on here. Cole, Miles, and Paul, the layering of the instrumentation, the diversity of it, and the builds and pullbacks, better than any song so far on this album, and that's saying something. Now we're on to the 6th track, Blinded. Blinded. I think here he's talking about being blinded in love, but I mentioned it during the reaction. Paul's guitar work, Combs drumming, wow, man, so good in here. It's a really good song, too, just a great sound. I might give up everything for you. I might grow up dreaming I was you. I could live here dressed in honey's things. I could eat up everything she brings. Because it comes clear in pictures of here. You're my fear. You're my fear. Everywhere you go, you're still not clear. She might hang on every word I say. She might grow up thinking that's the way. Every day I bring home something new. Every day I'm trying to please you. And then we get the clear and everywhere you go. And then we get into some other things. Body kind to lover who won't last. Pleasing you, no questions asked. The whole love is blind thing, right? Barefoot and blind, you lead me astray. A weaker man might have given way. Just a really well done song. Once again, they tell a fantastic story in less than 4 minutes. The instrumentation is absolutely top notch. Now we move on to Personality. You know, I said it during the reaction, but just another song that is arranged so well. The Dublin Symphony Orchestra is credited just on the album, so I'm assuming they're giving you the strings here, but I mean, everybody's spot on. Fergal's vocals are great. He goes from that little almost speaking to singing at different times. Combs drumming, Paul's guitar work, Miles's bass work, just so well. This album is just so well put together instrumentally. The tone of this song was just so, I said it was pleasant during the reaction. I mean, in such a good way. Pleasant doesn't seem like the right kind of word, but it just is. It's pleasing to the ears. And the personality thing, he just drops it in the first line. I want to marry a personality, someone who looks just like Koo Stark. And people grow old, they get bored, they forget to take a risk, they get into mundane things. And you know, he's listing out different names. I don't know who some of these people are, but Sunken Dreams for Mr. Fields, Sold Out to the Longman Oz, Solid Days and Liquid Nights, Red Boy Loved Our Pavement Fights. Now, here's the motif he comes back to. Now, in the dark, they'll be left waiting, waiting to be told. In the dark, they'll be left waiting, with nothing left to hold. So these people we just covered. And then he covers some other people, says the same thing at the end of it, and then breaks down, I guess, probably an agent or an owner of a bar who's sitting in the corner sniffing out his 20%. He calls him a cat, while the cat was sitting in the corner sniffing out his 20%. So he plays on that cat motif, a sniffing and a licking, a drinking and a thinking about how his life was spent. And then he'd fly into a rage as he sat there and stewed on it because his mind became delayed. And he started accusing every one of us that he'd been betrayed, because in the dark he'd been left waiting to be told. In the dark he's been left waiting with nothing left to hold. In the dark we'll all be waiting, never to be told. Man, Man, songwriting is quite on point on this as well. We're on to the 8th track. You see it below, Users. Users. You know, I talked about it during the reaction, but there's a lot of build to most of these songs where they come in for 30 seconds or longer and just build slow instrumentation. And it's just such a nice touch because it kind of draws you into the song. I thought Paul's guitar work on this song was better than any other song on here. This might be my least favorite song, yet I still really like it. It tells you how strong this album is, but there's so much different guitar work on here. You know, sometimes Brit pop runs on the guitars. This is not Brit pop music, but then here you even get some shoegazing, maybe some My Bloody Valentine influence. There's a little heavy metal riff in there, but then he dialed it right back. Even some grunge influence in here. So just really, really well done. Combs' drumming was awesome as well. And I mean, Miles on the bass. And the song is about what it sounds like users, like in life. This guy's a user and he's talking about other users, using people, right? Because you've been hurt so much that you just don't look at people in the same way. You just use them. He starts out right away. I've used so many people for no reason or no gain. Sometimes it's just for fun or a way to keep me sane. There's someone lost inside of me who drowned in risky games. You ask too many questions for me to feel okay. So he's been burned and he's going to put up that wall and he's just going to use everyone. And I tell you, it's not easy because with grace I made you pay. The limits that we set make good lovers turn away. I'll let you go, so don't beg me. He runs into that a little bit. Now you're gone and I'm still the same, but that will never change. A bitter love, broken love, a love that stays the same. And at the very end, it's like it's the end of my time, and I have to decide if I ever want to see it through. Beg me. Just really well done. And now we're going to go to the last track. Sort of. I'll explain it when we get to the last track. We got Fiction. Well, there you have it. Fiction. I enjoyed that song. It's not going to be among my favorites. I mean, it's just, this guy's talking about done with drinking, thinking, fighting. I've sat out and washed out greed, turned on shyness, conquered weakness, out of kindness. Some say need. Hear me, I can't find a place where I belong. Hear me, never give much thought to what went wrong. I can't control myself. And he just talks about things like that. God knows that I'm only trying to please me. Not for me, your idol worship. Not for me, your games of greed. Forgive me. I can't find a line to fit this song. Forgive me. I'm not a friend who lasts for long. And then finishes out with 4 different repeats of I can't control myself. So enjoyed that one. Now we're going to come, if you're on the traditional album on Spotify, the last song, Morning Rise. But there's a hidden track, and I don't know what Spotify is going to do with it. So that hidden track is going to be on this review. I found it on the expanded edition. It doesn't look like it's on the regular edition on Spotify, but I mean, it was originally released. So this is not the last song if you kind of know how this album goes, but we'll go to Morning Rise. Morning Rise, just a beautiful song. I mean, you had the Dublin Symphony Orchestra in here, and just, wow, man, I just really enjoyed this. One thing I like about their songwriting, they don't beat their song titles to death, which is all right with groups that do that or artists that do that, and it's in the chorus everywhere. A lot of times their song titles, this comes in one line, usually at the beginning. This time it's at the end, which I'll get to in a minute. But, you know, just a really good song. When our time comes, I will know. Because he starts out, heard the news that Johnny's free. Not that that means much to me. I look down and all I see, there's nothing staring back at me. I remember all the things you said. When our time comes, I will know. Just not a haunting song necessarily, but almost in a way, just a beautiful song. John came home from work one day and watched her tidy things away. Don't look at me like I'm insane. Don't take for granted life this way. I can't do anything for you. When our time comes, I will know. And then the last verse, I can't suppress these feelings any longer. You excite me, delight me, inspire me, drive me. It's in your eyes a fire that's wild and glorious, uninhibited, unfinished in everything I do. Let the morning rise. So there you go. There's the title. Like our heart's desire. I can't help thinking that I love you. Fantastic. But we're not done because there's a hidden track on the original. It's not going to be, if you use Spotify like we do, it's not going to be on Spotify. You got to go to the expanded version on Spotify, which I'm going to do. And it's actually the very last song if you're looking on Spotify. It's a 20th song on the expanded version of this. And I just wanted to cover this. I don't know if I should have covered this, should not have covered it. I don't know what the original CD it would have been then had on it. But I love this album, so I want one more. So you see it below. We got A Natural. I do have lyrics for it. I don't know anything about the song. Let's check it out. A Natural. What a different change of pace. And I did some research on this song. I can't find it because there are some articles up now since this album was re-released recently. And I can't find anything that anybody talks about. I mean, is this a true story? I don't know. You know, he talks about having schizophrenia. Figured it out in the last year and a half. Acute paranoid schizophrenia. And there's like, he has a twin mind, and one mind's trying to keep the other one happy, and it ran on his mother's side. Each person has their own tragedy. Mine, as I found out, was this fear of my old lady turning into the very similar old lady that I despised when I grew up. But you fall in love, and is it possible to fall in love with every woman you meet? And you know, at the end, it ramps up, right? He's kind of speaking, and then today is not a day for me. Today is not for me. A really good song, really powerful song. If you know the story to this, please leave it in the comments below. Maybe there is no story to it, but I was like, is this somehow autobiographical for someone or about somebody they knew? But I'm glad we checked it out, even though it was a hidden track. Now we get to my favorite tracks, and that is going to be tough, because what I do is I have my notes up here, and usually after every song I'll make just a couple quick little notes on it after we listen here so I can remember, because, you know, it's the first time I've ever heard this album. You know, you can't quite remember, you know, a 45-minute album. You go back and go, huh, song number 2. Well, but on this, I just stopped leaving comments because I'd be like, fave, so I remember what my favorites are. And I don't really know. I mean, the first track, Twinkle, I mean, I don't even know, man. Morning Rise, pick one, pick another one. I absolutely love this album. This is one of the 10 best albums I've heard this year. It's fantastic, and I will spin this one on my own. And I don't have time to spin a lot of music, so it's got to be up there for me. And before we get to my overall score, I just want to say this album is so fantastically done. The lyricism is great. I mentioned it during the reaction, but you know, all the songs tell a story. There's no two short verses and just repetition. Nothing wrong with that, but there's not a lot of that. I mentioned cleverly they have the title of the song just in one line usually. A lot of these songs don't even have choruses, right? But the instrumentation is so well done. You know, Paul on the guitar, Miles' understated bass, really good, need to have it. Combs' drumming is so important. And obviously, Fergal McKee is great on the lyrics. I like that sometimes he speaks, but then he takes it into it's almost like a spoken word into singing. It just works. And a lot of times in groups of this time in the mid 90s, sometimes your drummer's on point and your guitars are on point, but your vocalist is they're okay, they're serviceable, but he's really good. So as I get to my overall score on this album, this is one of my top 10 albums I've listened to this year, and I listen to a lot of albums. I'm going to be at a sky high, right up there with the highest grades I've given this whole year, a 9.0 on this. Can't quite get to the 10 that Richard's at, but I've only ever given 4 10s in the history of this channel, and I've only listened to it once. I will listen to this on my own, and I don't usually do that because I don't have a lot of time on my hands, but I will definitely revisit this one. Thank you, Richard, so much for bringing this hidden gem to us. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you'd like to support us in any way, the way Richard does, the patrons make this thing go. We so appreciate you guys. Check out the link at the bottom or the link on the end screen that's about to hit. Until next time, guys, I will see you.